Hello, you are welcome to Operation 4.0 GPA tutorial. In this video, we want to look at the economic concept depicted by the PPF, and the concept we want to look at is trade-off and opportunity cost, the scarcity, and then efficiency. Now, in our definition for PPF, we said that, and our assumptions, we talked about two goods being produced, the fact that we have to utilize all our resources and that resources are transferable. Now, so we said that any point on the PPF shows an efficient point. So when you come to point A here, you see that it is not on the PPF, showing that it is inefficient because all resources are not utilized here. So when you see here, you see that if you put in more resources, you should have been increasing the amount of good X and Y that you have produced. So the X here we have wheat, and then the Y here we have machine. So point A shows an efficient point, though it is attainable, but it is undesirable and inefficient. Now let's come to point B. Point B is on the PPF, showing that it is an efficient point and is also attainable because we can produce it with our limited resources. When you come to point C, it also shows same, but point B and C are somehow different because they are different combinations of good X and Y. When you look at point B, is a combination of S2 and then Y2. Then point C is a combination of S3 and then Y3. So these are different combinations. So a country can decide to produce this or this. So what happens if I want to move from the production of B, which is S2 and Y2, to the production of C, which is S3 and Y3? That brings in the trade-off and opportunity cost concept. Now, if I'm moving from B to C, just look at it. Now, I am trying to what? Increase production of what? Good X from Y2 to what? Y3. So in that case, I am increasing this one. So I'm increasing X. And look at what is happening. As I move from B to C, you can see that my Y is reducing. So the opportunity cost shows how much of a good I give up in order to what? Get an extra unit of what? The one I'm trying to increase. Generally, if you want to calculate opportunity cost, we say that opportunity cost, OC, is equal to change in what you are trying to reduce over change in what you are trying to what? Increase. So in our case, we are trying to increase what? X. So it means that with this and trying to what? Reduce Y. So if I'm writing this formula, then it should be change in Y over what? Change in X, and that gives me the opportunity cost of what? X. Now if I want to do same for Y, opportunity cost of Y, in that case, from this that I'm moving from C to what? B. That one I'm increasing what? Y. And then I'm what? Reducing what? X. So in that case, I'm going to have what? Change in what? X over what? Change in what? Y. So if I put in what I have here, then I'm going to have opportunity cost of S to be equal to, now the difference between this and this. So first I was trying to what? Increase what? X and reduce Y. So I'm going to have what? I'm going to have Y3 minus Y2 all over S3 minus S2. And when I do same for Y, I'm going to have, so I'm moving from C to B. So I'm going to have S2 minus S3 all over Y2 minus what? Y3. So that is it about the opportunity cost. Now let's talk about point D. Now what happens at point D? Point D, you see that the economy really wants to get there. We desire to get to point D, but it's not possible because of the assumptions that we put in place. So we said that there are limited resources and our technology is fixed. So point D is actually desirable, but it's unattainable because of our limited resources and fixed. So when we violate these assumptions, we can get to point D, and we are going to demonstrate that. Okay, so now as I said, point D, you need to violate either the fixed technology or limited resources assumption that we make. So anytime there is an increase in the resources, so I'm using increase as one part, it can be changed. So in this case, I'm talking about increase in the resources we use the production of either of the goods or both of them, we can get to point D. And the other thing is that discovery of new technology. When we discover new technology in the production of either of them or both of them, we will get to D. But how do you get to D? It's either there is a rotation in Y or X, or there is a bodily shift in the ppm. So let's demonstrate that. Now, if there is a discovery in technology of the production of X, we will see that the amount of good S that will be produced will now increase. So if I want to get to D, now this one is going to increase, but remember that we've not discovered anything for Y. So the Y will remain the same while what? S increase. So I want to get to point D. So now I'm going to have, let me clean the wheat here, we have S1. So it means that S has now increased while Y what? Remain the same. Okay, so I have gotten to point D, and this is what we call rotation in the what? S axis. So if I draw it well here, I'm going to have the first one was what? Y naught, S naught. And then I have something of this sort here, which is X1. We have X here, we have Y here, 0. So there is what? A rotation in the S axis. Okay, now let me come back to this one. So if I want to still get to D, and there is a discovery in what? Technology in the production of Y, that means that there will be increase in what? Y. So in that case, if D is here, I'm going to have X will remain the same while D increases, while Y increases, and I'll get what? D. So if I'm drawing it here, I'm going to have my initial point Y naught and S naught, X, Y. Then Y will increase while what? S remains the same, so Y1. Now the last thing is that we have what? Discovery of what? New technology and production of the two goods. It means that both goods what? Increase. So in that case, instead of one to remain constant, both of them what? Increase. And I'll have something of this sort. This is Y1. So in that case, I can have something like this, and I have what? Not drawn to scale, X1 and Y1. So this is a bodily shift. So the first one were just rotation, while there's what? A bodily shift. So I was using what? Discovering new technology. Anytime there is what? An increase in the resources of production of either or both, the same thing applies as what? The discovery. So that is what you have. In case now the resources of production of the two goods shrink or they reduce, now this one will rotate inside. So now if I have an initial curve this way, Y naught, X naught, and we have X, we have Y, and now there is what? Reduction in resources for the production of the two goods, you will see that this one will shift inside. So I have X1 here and then Y1 here. If it happens that the resources were just for production of Y and they shrink, you will see that Y will reduce while S what? Remains the same. So we have Y naught, Y1, Y, X here, we have S naught. And what happens if it is X that the resources has reduced? In that case, it is S that will shrink while we have Y. So this is rotating inward. Y, X, S naught, and what? X1.